Hello everybody and welcome to The Board, a mechanical keyboard podcast for mechanical keyboard enthusiasts by mechanical keyboard enthusiasts. Today I'm bringing you a pretty spontaneous video. This is actually going to be my first video for a YouTube channel, as long as it turns out okay. The reason why I just decided to jump in the deep end and make this video is because I'm actually sending off one of these three boards, which you see in front of you today, to a friend, somebody who's excited to have a big project to work on, and I felt like I should do this comparison before I send it off, just because it's not very often that you get three of IBM's legendary keyboards all side by side. So in front of you is the first one. This is the most recent of the three. This is called the IBM Model M. It has buckling springs, and it's a pretty standard 104 key layout with one keyless blockers. I guess it's the keyboard that many of the modern keyboards base their layouts off of. I guess full disclosure, I'm not really doing this video as much as like a history lesson, something that Strand 22 would do. I'm more of just gonna talk about my thoughts on them, keep it very general, and just trying to make something fun and interesting for anybody who hasn't seen these three boards side by side. So this is the Model M here. Then if you take one generation back, you end up with the Model F, which is a different buckling spring design, and this one is specifically, it's not exactly the most desirable. It's a little bit difficult to convert. This is called the blue switch version. It's called the, I believe it's the 3178, and it has a piezoelectric beeper, which is one thing that sets it apart, but it does have a plastic case, which a lot of them have very nice metal cases, so this one is a little bit less desirable than many of the other Model Fs, especially the 77 key one, or the Kish Saver, which is the 60%. And if you take a step back into the prior generation, then you end up with this guy, which is a Beamspring keyboard. So this is really cool. This is a super old board, and it's very heavy. It's all metal, and it weighs, based on my calculations, around 10.8 pounds. There's a few different versions of this one. For example, there's this version, and then there's another version of this same layout without these right programmable function keys, which is a different version, and then there's a few different ones as well. So, where should I head to now? So, I guess the first thing to mention is that actually, surprisingly, none of these are currently functional on any modern keyboards. So this IBM Model M, it actually had a lot of water damage, so I didn't end up trying to convert it, and I got it from e-waste. So you can see that the cord has been cut. This is a common practice for e-waste. They put the cables in like a different bin when they're recycling them. So it has that, unfortunately, and it's missing quite a few keys, but I kept it just as like a sort of like showpiece. The date on this one is 89, so the 21st of July 1989. So my thoughts on this: I don't really like the heaviness of the buckling springs. They don't really sound that great to me. I have something against Model M's. I just don't like them. I know that that's not a very common and popular opinion, because most people consider them like a granddaddy of mechanical keyboards, but I just think they're kind of boring. They don't really appeal to me. Another interesting thing is, depending on the label, this can like sort of like denote how special your Model M is, because there's a few different labels, and when you look at different dates, they have different label designs and colors, and that could mean that you have like an older or newer one. I don't exactly know all the differences, but it's something to look out for if you're interested in Model M's. It has a decent weight. It's a plastic case. I believe the back panel inside is metal, and depending on how old it is, it can have either a thicker or thinner one. So like the really old ones, they didn't like skimp on the metal, but then they ended up cutting the prices a little bit on some of the newer ones. Yeah, I mean, it sounds okay if you like clicky switches, but it's just not that satisfying to me. So now, this one is a Model F. I actually got this from one of my friends, Angelo, AlienMan82. He sent it to me for basically for the cost of shipping. He's a pretty nice guy if you get to know him, and he cares a lot about keyboards. So he's pretty interesting to talk to if you ever have the chance. So as far as this compared to the Model M goes, I find the clicking much more satisfying. In my opinion, when you're like pressing it down, it feels like it's like almost linear, but there's a click inside that linear movement, which just feels like a snapping sort of like spring. I think it's really cool. They're very smooth, and this is the one which I'm going to be definitely keeping. The Model M, I might just hang on to it for a while, but it's really nothing special to me, and Model M's are not particularly hard to find, especially in decent condition, actually functioning. So this one's a little bit more interesting to me. This also has somewhat of a usable layout. An interesting thing on the Model S is the spacebar is heavier. You can mod it to reduce the spacebar weight, but you have to like disassemble the entire board. Also, to convert this, you have to use an X-What's-It, and then you also have to do something else. Like you have to connect something to the circuit board for this one specifically, and it sounds like something that I would mess up, so I'm probably going to end up hitting Desk Authority up and trying to find somebody willing to do it for me, but I think I'm going to be keeping this one. Another interesting thing about the Model F was, if you hadn't heard about it, there's actually a new group buy for new versions of the Model F. Somebody on, I guess he's probably started on Desk Authority, but he's kind of been around the keyboard community now. He recreated the switch mechanism, and he created new molds for the I guess, shoot, I'm not sure if the cases are cast. He either cast the cases or he had them CNC'd, but he basically recreated Model Fs with a newer circuit board, and you can buy basically new Model Fs, and they're almost complete with the group buy. Actually, I entered for a 60% one, like it's called a Kish Saver style, and it has options for split right shift, split backspace, and it's basically like a standard modern keyboard layout. So if this is a switch you like, but you want to have it on just a easier to use functional keyboard right out the box, then that's the keyboard which you should be looking at. And I cannot wait to get it, and I'm definitely going to be doing a review for our YouTube channel once I get it, because that is something that I'm super hyped about. He supposedly has, I guess, all the parts. Production's pretty much wrapped up. He's waiting on a few things like keycaps, and then the goal is to have it finished by the end of the year. So that should be pretty hype. And now for this guy. This is called a Beamspring, and this is one of those switches which people kind of swear by. They say that it's like a really special experience, and a lot of the super deep enthusiasts say that it's like the most remarkable switch ever. I saw a few of these in very good quality at the Seattle keyboard meetup over the summer at the Living Computer Museum. They actually have some of these these Beamsprings on display, which is crazy, because basically if they're in good enough quality, they're getting to the point where they're almost like a museum piece, which is awesome. That I found one in, it wasn't e-waste, but it's a junkyard which I go to in Southern California, and they sometimes have really cool things if you get lucky. And you know, I got lucky because in one trip I got a Beamspring, a BKE, Topra keyboard, and I also got an audio device with 157 yellow Alps and Alps keycaps, so that's awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, this thing has a full metal case. It weighs over 10 pounds, and the switches are pretty interesting. They are closer, in my opinion, to the Model F than the Model M. The Model M almost feels like more tactile rather than just like smooth and linear, but with a click in it. And they just have a different kind of sound to them. This layout specifically doesn't seem that impossible to use. The arrow cluster is a little bit weird, but if you could figure out how to reprogram it, then you could always throw these onto these, and it would be a lot more usable. An interesting thing about this, I'll turn it sideways, is it's really thick. I'm not sure if the camera's going to be able to focus on that or not. I'm using a pretty janky camera setup here. My camera's actually on my desk looking down at the floor, and I couldn't fit these keyboards on my floor because they're all very large keyboards, or I couldn't fit them all on my desk, so I just decided to film the video on the floor and use my table as a camera stand. Yeah, so this is the Beamspring for any of you that haven't seen it before. Here's a little sound comparison. So this is the Model F, and this is the Beamspring. It's a little bit lower pitched. Kind of has like a typewriter-esque sound to it. It comes with SA style keycaps rather than like closer to Cherry or OEM profile on the Model M's, and they're double shot ABS. So another little interesting thing, I really haven't spent too much time exploring this keyboard. The good news was that the cable was actually attached, which it's not very useful anyways because you have to convert it to something else, but yay, right? An interesting little thing about this is if you open up this little like bay here, you can actually get to the manual, and my keyboard actually had the manual in it. So, wow, it's the 3278, and that's awesome. You know, I could sit through and read this to all of you, but I won't. And yeah, I guess that's probably gonna be it for this video. I know I don't have that much insights into these. I'm not really doing this as some sort of history lesson. If you wanted that, Kairosran is the guy to go to. His YouTube channel, Kairosran22. He's awesome. He does really great in-depth videos. But I just wanted to give you like a very brief overview comparing 3 different IBM keyboards from 3 different eras side by side while I still have them, because this guy, he's going off today and I will not be able to do that anymore. However, I will be keeping the Model F and the Model M for now, and you can expect some more videos on a Model F, probably on the new refurbished or the new created versions, which are going to be coming by the end of the year. But maybe I'll do something on this one as well. I guess if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comment section. Chances are I might not be able to answer them if they're anything technical, but you know, so maybe somebody else can answer them. And if you have any suggestions or you want to see anything specifically, I have a decent sized collection of keyboards. If you prefer videos, or if you prefer just like podcast style audio, which I normally focus on, then just, you know, give me more information on what you want and we can make that happen. So I guess one last time I'll go through like a type test just so you can see. The mic is a little bit closer to the Model M's than the Beamspring, so and they might come off a little bit louder, but so this is the Model M. It's kind of lame. I'm not a fan. Model F is something that I really like. And the Beamspring, which is cool, but not really as great to me as the Model F. I think the Model F was that and Topra are like the two switches which have me in love. So, if you were wondering. So that'll be it for this video. Have an awesome day, and definitely check out our podcast, theboardpodcast.com. Me and Don have weekly episodes, and we try to add a little filler episode in every midweek when we have time to record one on different topics, such as like one-on-one interviews with people, just talking about what they like in the keyboard community, or special projects which we're working on, or like for example, we just did one on Topra, so Topra modding. So if you have a Topra keyboard and you're interested in getting into Topra modding, we provided a little bit of information on just what are the different mods and what do they do and how much do they cost. So thanks again, and have a great day.